I'm an addict named Greg. Can we just take one more brief period of time for a moment of silence? Thank you. Grateful to be clean tonight and to be at this meet, to be at this event with you guys. It's been very impressive so far, man. I got here yesterday, and from the minute I walked in the hotel, it's just been impressive. So I was grateful to be clean before I got here, and I was grateful to make the trip out here because we're going to go to Boston on Monday. I've never been to Boston, and I'm also realized I've never been to Vermont either. But I was stopping here for a recovery event, then we're going to go to Boston. This is so beautiful. We're thinking about just staying here, canceling Boston. They probably won't let me, but this is beautiful here, man. And I thought places this beautiful would, probably, I'm sure, seems like people with money. I didn't think those places were liberal. This place is way more liberal than where I live. We're way more broke. So I'm learning new things all the time, man. But I'm grateful to be clean and have been for some time. Just grateful to be abstinent. Just grateful to be abstinent from using, and to be clean means something beyond that. I think it used to all mean the same thing. That's what I thought I was here for. But I get reminded when I go to meetings, especially with newcomers, or I'm at an event where people are talking about their past. I'm just grateful to be abstinent, man. That was rough. It was just rough out there, man. I stayed out there way, way, way too long, Is there anybody here in their first year of abstinence? Right on. Anybody here in their first 30 days of abstinence? Right on. That's sweet. Anybody here in the last 30 days of abstinence? Sometimes we catch them on the way out. Think about that. Listen to me now, hear me later. I don't know. I just feel like so full of gratitude and then also so full of information because I've been gifted with people around me since I got into the recovery process, since I got abstinent and was eased into the recovery process. Those, for me, have been two different things. This is a program of complete abstinence, total abstinence from all drugs, but it's a program too. It's not just abstinence. The program's the 12 steps. And I believe that's the other side of the coin is the 12 traditions. We have multiple how-to books on doing that. And I've never been much of a guy to read instructions or take any direction. But I had people with the patience and the willingness to stand beside me and show me as gradual as I could make it, what this is about. This is a program. And the abstinence, I think, is the precursor. It's like the prerequisite part of it. And recovery is the second part. I think the abstinence, I don't know that you can, when people that have some recovery and relapse or use or do something else dramatically damaging to their situation. I don't know if there's an absolute end of recovery and it has to start over again like some people take it. I don't think you necessarily lose recovery that you've had before. But you guys know how I am. I'm always preaching to the choir. We can shit on the greatest grace that's ever been given to us, man. We always have. And we're waking up to it, or still waking up to that. And that happens before we get here. That happens after we've been here, abstinent, and after we've been here in recovery for a while. Maybe not to everybody. It has to me. So I just have so much information that these guys taught me to be able to gradually be able to study about myself. When I got clean, when I got abstinent, I got very sick, man. I got very sick. I never want to have to go through that again. It still makes hairs stand up in different parts of my body from having to go through that pain. And I didn't know which end was up. But I really wasn't planning on staying clean. I was out of desperation, decided to take a break for a 30 to 90 day break and try to get a baseline, because I guess, I don't know. What I started to say is I have so much information that I've been able to extract out of myself, some of it out of my subconscious, some out of memory that had been tucked back away, just sort of a study back. And I don't need to focus on a lot of things way in the past, but I try to give a story. I used to think no one wants to hear my story, it's stupid. My story is really not that tough times, it's just not that cool, my story. And people have said, tell your story, we want you to tell your story. And I've done it in my own area. I wanted to have something better to share about, but I tell my story with people I've known for years. And most of them come out to me later and go, I never heard your whole story before, because they get it in bits and pieces. And so, I just have so much information that I've been able to hash up about my past and about my story. And so if I get up here and just kind of freewheel it, we'll be here till a week from Monday, for me to get up to the point where I start, where I decide to take a break for 30 to 90 days. So I jot down a few things that just seem like, okay, this gives sort of a lead, and I don't even know if they're important. I don't know if I've left out important things. I don't know if I remember shit, but I know these things I recall. I don't know how accurate they are. I know I started, some shit happened to me when I was younger that I don't think it was my fault. Some shit happened to me like happens to all of us. Either I was a victim, I certainly perceived, not so much that I was a victim at the time, but that I was worthless. And I really don't want to go into a lot of the details on that because I'm not sure how to keep that short and how to keep that relevant. But I started using when I was 11 years old because I had been just a shut down, anxiety-ridden, self-loathing, self-conscious, just like a beat puppy. I got beat a lot as a kid. And I had nothing to say. Didn't think anything I had to say was of value. It was just hard living in my own skin before I ever used. And so my cousin and I picked up at age 11. And I'm telling you, when I hit that, it was like a solution. It was probably the most remarkable solution I'd ever found in my life because it took the anxiety away. It was like a connecting with peace and comfort and just being okay to be me. I don't remember having that. I couldn't remember having that before, so it was like a super solution. It was sweet. And I didn't get loaded all the time. I didn't have the means or ways or anything else. I didn't think about it all the time, but when I used, I would use as much as I could. And I enjoyed it, and then there'd be a time period until I could get some more, until I could figure out how to do that. And I didn't get to the point where I was thinking about it every day, just concocting ways and means to come up with more. But I did notice as there were periods in between, the periods in between uses got more anxiety-ridden than before I started it. I noticed that. And I think it concerned me. I can't remember. It didn't change anything. And so that just continued gradually. By 8th grade, it moved in from like a starter business into kind of a growing small enterprise that I was just running at school. That's the only way I could make those periods shorter was to be buying and selling and other things, other ways and means to get more. And to be also, of course, I was important to people if I had something. Or even if somebody had something and I had some cash to buy it with, that seemed to be, noticed by people. And so I was kind of an entrepreneur, if you will. Not well organized, but it kept me going to school every day to work the store. I think if I didn't have that going, I probably wouldn't have gone to school and finished junior high. I'm that old. I went to junior high. For you younger people, it's kind of around middle school age, so it just gradually progressed. I was able to use more and more frequently, but get done the things that I had to get done. My life just didn't fall apart, but it was gradual, yet it was acceleratingly less and less gradual. And another marker was at about age 22. I realized one day, I don't know what caused it. I just realized, man, I got one coping mechanism, and And that's using, it's getting loaded. That's how I cope with if I'm upset, if I'm sad, if I'm happy, if I'm celebrating, if we're mourning someone, losing someone. I just had one coping mechanism. It was starting to make life not only difficult, but it was starting to take it apart. And that realization disturbed me so much. It was like some kind of an awakening awareness of, oh. And it was so disturbing, I just got loaded to cope away that feeling. And I didn't even notice. I just remember that. I remember having that realization and dealing with it. I remember another time at about 26 years old, where I've been in a basement using by myself in a dark basement for just about a week. And I was running out of dope again. And I was worn out, man. I was completely exhausted. And I was, I guess I don't have the proper word. I can't find the words. It was just beat. And I was thinking, man, another crossroads, where I'm either going to do what I got to do to find the ways and means to get more, which have become more and more desperate, more and more outside of any values I ever thought I had, or I'm going to have to do something different. And I didn't have a clue about doing something different. So I just sat with my head down for probably 45 seconds. It seemed like 20 minutes. And the sweat was dripping on the floor. And I just got up and went and found the ways and means to keep going. There were little glimpses of this ain't working, but I just kept going. Probably a year or two after that, I never was really an alcoholic. I drank alcohol the whole time, but I didn't seem like I was an alcoholic. It really didn't seem like it was any certain kind of anything. I used all kinds of substances because I did. And I just had a streak of bad luck. I got 3 drunk drivings in a week and a half in 3 different counties, and I'd never had anything like that. I've had a few short, charges, short-term jail sentences for various other things, what I considered small, inconsequential things. But the 3 drunk drive-ins were, nowadays, I think I'd be in prison for that. I'd be habitual or something. Then the computer systems weren't hooked up, and it was all right close together, and I just went to each county. It was in Michigan. I'm from Michigan. It was in Ann Arbor, Kalamazoo City, and Kalamazoo County, so it was close in the one county city thing, but I just went to those each, pled no contest, and got like a plea deal on each one as first offense. So it cost me like $400, and I lost my license for 6 months, which really caused me to drive a lot safer. Just kept going on. I mean, there's little clues, that there were problems. And then I had to go to a drug assessment thing for the one that they had first put in the system that was in Kalamazoo. So you had to go to this, it was called the Drug and Alcohol Assessment. And because back then they didn't, if you were just stoned, they didn't ever take your blood that I knew of. They would just do the breathalyzer thing and get you for alcohol. I don't even think that they did any hair testing or blood testing or anything like that. But I had to go to this assessment. I had to talk to the guy about this. And so he was an assessment guy. He sat down with me. It was at this location in Kalamazoo where I still live. And later on it became a hearing aid place, and now it's a J&B discount liquor store. But it was in this building. It was an assessment center. And he gave me a little questionnaire to fill out, and it had questions like if you had blackouts, once, twice, or 3 or more, And I knew how to answer these. I put once. I probably had 40, 50,000 blackouts, I put once. And it said, I answered the questions right. I know I passed the test. And he looked at it and he said, okay. And he asked me about drinking. I told him it had been months since this had happened. I hadn't had it. I just stopped drinking cold turkey out that third one. And so he said, okay. So he read it over and he said, well, Greg, I really think you're an alcoholic. And I said, what? And he goes, yeah, because most people that are an alcoholic don't stop drinking. I said, I got all mad. I said, I got to step outside and have a cigarette. I stepped out the side door. I'm smoking a cigarette. And he just tolerated that. He says, listen, what I want you to do is go to 5 AA meetings, and I'll sign your thing off. So I'm not going to do it. He said, 3. I said, I'm not going to do it. He goes, 1. I'm not going to do it. He goes, you don't go to 1? I'm not going to sign your thing. So I said, okay. I went to 1 AA meeting. I thought, I can't relate to these guys, man. They were older. They seemed happy. First of all, I can relate to happy people. They all had like a house, a couple cars. Their wife was still there. They had a lap dog, a cat. They had a motorhome or a boat. I mean, they had, just looked like one day they decided to stop drinking. I didn't really listen to them. I just looked at their situation, and I heard them talking to each other. I thought, I don't know what's up with, I don't want anything to do with these guys. And I was thinking, they're pussies, same if they need help, stop drinking. I can stop drinking overnight. And, so I just kept going about. I didn't drink for 11 months, and then I went out and for 4 days and drank and caught a case, got a car jacked from me, and got beat up, got a drunken disorderly after all that, stopped drinking again for 11 months. And during that last progression, a friend of mine at the bar had said to me, Greg, you think you might have a problem drinking? And I said, no shit, Sherlock, what was your first clue, And he said, well, I went to a place, I got 10 years sober, and they helped me. And so they might be able to help you too. And I thought, this is like some kind of faith healing or some voodoo stuff. It seemed like magical. I said, I'll check it out. So he took me, we got in the car, and he took me to the Alamo Club. I went, I was here a few years ago, man. After I got those drunk drivings, and he goes, have an open mind. And we went in, and the people were different just by chance. It was like there were some younger people, and the people were talking. We were at a regular meeting. The other one was like a speaker meeting, sobriety time celebration. And I was just wasn't open at all. But I was sitting with him, and he knew some people there, like he'd been around for a while, and he had 10 years sober. And so it was interesting. So I started going with them every day, and I stopped drinking. Cold turkey again, no side effects, no withdrawal. I quit every drug I ever used. Cold turkey, no side effects, no withdrawal, no support system, no recovery program, as long as I had 3 or 4 other drugs to rely on. So I didn't think I was a certain kind of addict, or I thought I wanted to get fucked up. So I started going to meetings with him every day. Every single day. Now, I heard people talking about steps and sponsorship. I looked at the book. It's way too Jesus-like. Dude, I wasn't into that at all. Seemed a little churchy, but the people were cool. It was a place I could sit, and I still wouldn't put my back to the door, but I could kind of relax. It's kind of. And some people would say some eloquent stuff. I felt like going at an upstairs place. I don't know. So I thought it was all right, and I went every day. So I went with him, and I said, you want to sponsor me, man? And he said, I could. He goes, I don't sponsor anybody, but he goes, I also need a sponsor, so you could sponsor me. We could be co-sponsors. I'm telling you, don't try to shit at home. This is my experience. So I started out with my sponsee, going to these meetings. We didn't do a lick of step work, but we get together at his house or my house, we smoke a big fatty, go to a 9:30 meeting. It was mellow. And I have to tell you, I stopped drinking. Both times when I stopped drinking, my life changed dramatically. I wasn't at the dive bar every day. I wasn't at the park with them brown bag idiots, my peers. Life changed. But this didn't change. Greg didn't change. The way I think didn't change. And there was no abstinence. I didn't really know anything about that. And so I did that for a meeting every day for 8 months. He ended up moving away in the middle of the night. Something came up, he had to move to New York. I think he owed me like $3,000 in our weed business that we had going. And my thinking was, this guy just screwed me. Those AA guys are no good, they're just out to get me. F it, I'm not going back there. So that ended my daily AA attendance. Now I didn't do anything that they suggested. I didn't do any kind of program. I didn't even take note of the steps or what real sponsorship was like or listen to what the people were saying about their experience at the meeting. I just was taking a break, resting up. And I wasn't even really taking a break because I was still using. I know when I was down there, there was other guys that were there. And after the meetings, in between meetings, other guys my age that were newcomers, they'd be saying, one time, we'd be talking. I related to them, so I was talking a little bit. But one guy said, "You're looking tired, man. What's up?" And I said, "I haven't been sleeping 3 days." He goes, "You can't sleep. What's going on?" I said, "I've just been up all night smoking a pipe." He goes, "You're still doing that shit, man? You're crazy, man." I go, "Well, hell yeah, I mean, what?" And he goes, "You're nuts, man. You need to go down to NA." I said, "NA? What's that?" And he goes, "Narcotics Anonymous, man. It's a place where they're ass-honest people, man. Where they got like a chick talking about performance for a guy for a $2 piece of rock." I'm like, "What time's that meeting? What church is that at?" And they said, "Well, hold up now. They're going to want you to quit everything, man, even weed." And I remember saying, "I'm never getting about weed." Like, that was important. I said, "I'm not getting about weed." And that's the only time I heard NA until much later. And I just kept going, living stupid, and things just kept getting worse. And, somebody said last night, circling the bowl. We used to call it circling the rim. I lived circling the rim over and over and over again and didn't really care. I don't remember really caring about it. It wasn't foreign to me to live just for today. I lived just for today all the time. I knew what surrender was. I knew what surrender my money into a turnstile thing in Chicago, inner city Chicago, not even knowing who was on the other side. And sometimes I get soap or wax back out of it and go back down there, ready to, reconcile that situation and put more money in that thing. That's the truth, That should have been humiliating enough, even if nobody knew about it. But it just continued on. I hit the wall. I can't really tell you why or how. If I could, I'd be like Pax. What's his name? I'd tell you. I'd be out on TV with Tony Robbins talking about dial before 1-800 before midnight tonight. Get a free one for your spouse. You guys would be driving the state blind to get my shit back. And if I could sell it, I would, and I would have screwed it all up. I don't know what the recipe was. It never happened when I was incarcerated. When I was in jail, they didn't let me go to a meeting. They put me in solitary confinement by myself. The system labeled me incorrigible, unfit to be around people, and I appreciated that. I just wanted to have a rest before I could get back out. I wasn't planning I'm going to do something different. I was going to work harder and smarter. I was going to hustle better, and I wasn't going to get caught. I thought I was a victim for getting caught. It's just the truth. And it came to a point where I just couldn't live in my own skin anymore. I wasn't on paper. I wasn't, there was nothing pushing me, but I was forced by my own pain to do something different. And that's when I made the choice to take a 30 to 90 day break, and I stopped using. So my first day, my clean day is January 13th, 1993, and I stopped, and at first it was just like, whoa, I was a little dizzy. And then like a couple days in, I just got sick like a dog. And I didn't go to treatment because when I was in the street, everybody wanted treatment. The day they came back, they were worse. I thought, this is some shit right here. This is some Bilderberger stuff to thin us out right here, treatment. No way I'm going to treatment. So I had willpower. I had a lot of willpower. I didn't go to treatment, and I went to the Alamo Club because that was one place I knew where people weren't getting loaded. And I detoxed cold turkey, man, and I went through a lot of changes, man. I remember the leg cramps, man, and the nausea. I can remember the shakes, and I remember seeing things fly past me, and I fell off my chair. They called them mini seizures. I never talked to a doctor about that till several months later, but the people there called them mini seizures. One day I fell off my chair. I just sat in the back with a book. I couldn't even focus. I just held this book up so no one would bother me. And this old dude came by one time. He goes, "Man, you must know everything about the 12 steps and 12 traditions." I thought, why is he talking to me, man? And I found out later it was a 12 and 12 in the back corner. I was holding like this, So one day I just short-circuited, man. I passed out. I just passed out, but I must have been flopping around. And I came to, and this young lady that worked there, she's like, "Take it easy, sir. The ambulance is on the way." And I thought, ambulance? That's like police contact. I got up, I sprinted home. It's like a mile and a half. I got to my house, I went like, oh, here's all my friends. I didn't have friends, but my associates, they're smoking foil, shooting dope, drinking, whatever. And I'm like, I didn't even think I could say, "Get out of my house." you know, I just went like, that scared me. I ran back to the Alamo Club. Like I never ran so fast so far in years. I was out of breath. The ambulance was out front. So I went around behind the Alamo Club and smoked about 4 cigarettes till the ambulance left. Then I came in the side door, and the lady goes, "Hey, that's the dude that had the seizure." And I said, "Nah, no, it's probably my brother. He's got a problem." And they just left me alone. I thought they believed me. You know, I went and sat back in the corner like, That's how I did it. Months later when I went to the doctor, they said, where'd you go to rehab? How'd you detox? I'm like, cold turkey, dude. I knew I was an expert about everything, even though I was fresh out of good ideas for at least 8.5 years. I seemed to think I knew everything. The doctor said, dude, you should have died. You probably did as much brain damage by detoxing that way. So, you know, I still stay reserved on whether you want to just judge somebody and push them out of here because they're on Suboxone. I think we need to be careful. I think we need to be careful. We ain't doctors to tell people what to take. We ain't doctors to tell people what not to take. We're supposed to be here telling people our experience. But I'm glad I didn't have that shit for me, man. I'd still be on that shit, man. I've been feeling good. So I'm just saying for me, I would have tricked myself. So, you know, I came to meetings and I was anything but bright and receptive. I didn't like the people. I remember when I first went to NA, a guy from AA took me to NA because he talked about going to meetings at AA every day and chairing a meeting and using $1,000 worth of cocaine a day for a year. And I thought, my ears were like, what? And he goes, then I couldn't live myself anymore, so I came and told the group. I figured they were going to kick me out. He said, man, I've been chairing this meeting for a year, used $1,000 worth of cocaine. They said, we knew that, Tom. We were just waiting for you to get on us. And everybody at the meeting left. He was so popular at that AA meeting. And I grabbed him at the meeting. I said, dude, $1,000 a day, you must have been smoking that shit. He said to me, no shit, Sherlock, where you from? So I said, can I talk to you for a minute? So we exchanged war stories. I said, well, people like us, we don't quit that shit, right? He goes, I got 14 months off that shit, dude. I said, no way. I mean, I was in disbelief. No way. How'd you do that? He said, you need to come to an NA meeting with me. You know, I'm not the kind of guy that goes to a meeting. I always have to have someone take me to a meeting. Someone always was nice enough to show me where the meeting was, walk in there with me. You know, so I've been blessed. So you took me to an NA meeting, and I remember going in there thinking, oh, this wasn't even in like an organized place. This was in the basement of a house. It was dark. They were smoking. It didn't look right. It was like, what? But the people were happy. Their eyes were clear. They were smiling, laughing, which kind of pissed me off. I wasn't too happy. They were hugging each other. And I thought, what is this? This ain't no real dope fiends. You know, they don't know what it's like for a dope fiend. But they said, hey, we're going to share about the first step with you, you know, and we'll give you a chance to share at the end. So they start talking. And they, you know, it's supposed to be a first step meeting, but they talk about how they used. Some of them, that's all they talked about. And then I got here and it's all good. And just by their talking about using, I identified myself by everyone rapidly. I could unique myself. You talking about that? What the hell? That's the only drug you used? You needed something. My autobiography was involved in every judgment I made. It was like, and I remember when I first walked, there was this young lady sitting there. I thought, whose daughter is that? Why did they let a kid in here? And I thought, she certainly is not an addict. But I'm listening to these people, unique in myself out of all their stories about using. Gets to this young lady. She wasn't that young, but she looked young. She had 8 years clean. She got clean when she was 14. Her name was Shannon. And I thought, oh, this will be rich. And she started sharing about whatever she identified from using as a younger kid and then into her teens. And she said when she was using, you know, with her life, she felt less than. She felt like the most worthless, useless piece of shit on the face of the earth that even God couldn't love. And I was like, like I was tractor beamed in on that, like, whoa, I can relate to that shit. And then she'd say, I'd get fucked up. And I think I was better than everybody. And I go, me too. This is in my head. I just sat there like this for everybody, like I was supposed to be there. You know? And I'm like, fuck them, I can relate to that. And then she said, I got clean. I felt that useless, worthless piece of shit again. And I went, whoa. And then she said, I actually got a sponsor and worked some steps and got some freedom. And then I started thinking I was better than everybody again. Oh no. And then she said, then I crashed. She didn't use. She just crashed and was traumatically not as cool as she thought. And so she kept working the steps. And I thought, I'll tell you what, that one that I thought couldn't even be an addict. After listening to the other ones, I was identifying out with their drug stories. That one that talked about those feelings, I was hooked. Like, you know what the sign language thing is for addiction? Watch the sign language, people. That's what they say addiction, they go. I was hooked on that. Identifying at the deeper level of feelings. That's what hooked me. That's why I came back the next day. And I just kept coming back. But I was listening to people share. People were sharing. At first, I was anything about God. The only commitment I had was to not believe in God. That was bullshit. The stuff I saw happen, a God that would let that happen, I don't want nothing to do with him. Truth be told, I didn't want to believe in a God that would forgive me for some of the shit I did. Truth. And so I wasn't going for that, but if that's magic bullshit, I'm not going for it. And people would talk about God, rule that stuff out. But after a while, people just started talking about their life and their experience. Or after a while, I started being able to hear it. And I started being able to identify with some things, And I didn't like it. It made me uncomfortable. It made me very uncomfortable. I remember sitting at a meeting within my first 30 days. I was going every day. And just hear a guy was there with 2 years clean talking about his he didn't have a dad around growing up, and he had to learn how to be a man from his mother. And, he really missed out on that, bringing him into, he had a couple years clean, he started crying. I got all uncomfortable, like, why is he crying? Why is he sharing that? I'm saying this to myself. I'm just sitting there like, taking it all in, And I remember walking out of there like I wasn't going to use, I was going to go home. This was too uncomfortable. I was going to watch TV or something. My TV hadn't been turned on in like 6 years. It was packed with dust and shit, but I was going to do something. And this dude followed me out of the meeting, this guy that, he was always looking at me. And if I look at him, he'd wink at me or nod. And he was always the first one to come over and hug me. In the first couple of weeks, I thought, this guy might be gay. I got to watch out. And I didn't even know I was a homophobic. I had no idea. So this guy follows me out of the meeting the day I'm leaving early, and I'm thinking, what? He gets out there, he goes, you gotta go get one, pussy? I said, excuse me? He goes, you gotta go get one. That's all right. Why don't you leave this chair open for somebody that wants this program? You gotta have some more pain. Why don't you go get one on me? And he stuck a $10 bill out, and I'm like, this guy wants me to use. This is to myself. He wants me to use. I went back in that meeting to spike that guy. I stayed clean for 90 days, really. My first 90 days to spike that guy. And he became my first sponsor at 62 days. It turned out he wasn't gay. He was a womanizer. He never would have let go of that $10 bill. He was Dutch through and through. But he gave me what I needed. And I went back in, and his deal was, when I first went there, they said to me, work the steps or die, motherfucker. That's how they were. Any questions? And if someone of new people would go, yeah, they go, shut the fuck up. We don't need to hear what you have to say. You're a newcomer. And I thought, these guys are rude. But, when I'd sit there at meetings, I'd come into meetings and they'd say, how you feeling? People sitting at meetings before it started, I'd say, I feel like a scumbag. And they'd say, you're not a scumbag, man. You're a beautiful, beautiful young man. And they'd pat me on the back, and I'd think, obviously you don't know me, I wasn't connecting. And then 2 or 3 times of that, they said, how you feeling? I said, I feel like a scumbag. And the guy in the back of the room that I thought was gay, he said, then stop living like a scumbag, motherfucker. And I thought, what's this? It kind of pissed me off, but that's the kind of people I was going to listen to. People that talk to me like I felt about myself. Those people saved my life, man. And people talk to newcomers that way now, I believe you could get sued or maybe go to jail. It's politically incorrect. But everybody gets just what they need, man. I got it in Narcotics Anonymous. They got me. They hooked me. They hung on to me. They walked me through it. I resisted left and right. I got like just 4 more hours just to get started on this. So I got to wrap this up. I don't want to do this all night. I would like to get down and have some of you guys come up and share your shit with me if you would do that. But I just wanted to say that going through this process, I worked the steps just like my sponsor insisted I commit to, and I did everything. I was that desperate. I just didn't want to go back. It was just going to be a break, but I realized within 3-4 days of being that sick and crazier than I had been, that motivated me to get there. I just started doing this work, man, and somehow it paid off. But there's at least 2 things in the basic text I thought was just talking about newcomers until about 2 years ago. And I realized that's me still. And that is everything we know is subject to revision, especially what we know about the truth. That ain't talking just to newcomers. And the other thing is most addicts resist recovery. Most addicts not most new addicts. Most addicts resist recovery. Knowing that, we can watch for that. And I've had times when I just thought, man, my recovery has been so intense and so accelerated for some years in the past. I worked it up, and I'm still sponsoring people, and I'm going to meetings, I'm telling people what I know, I'm telling people what I've learned, what my experience is, but I stopped taking the steps myself. I'm taking them with other guys, but I stopped doing that one time. That one time where you're writing in the steps, where you're studying it, and you're praying it, and you're talking to God. Some people say, well, God's sketchy. You got to have a higher power. Man, higher power ain't in the steps. God's in the steps. You can make that whatever you want. And I did. My first time through it was the gift of desperation. I worked the steps. My God was the gift of desperation because I wasn't going to accept it. I wasn't going to accept it any other way. I never decided to look for God in this process. God found me in the rooms. God found me in the rooms, and He didn't just find me then. God had me all the time. That's just, I can't define that for you. There's a couple things I can't define at all. That's God and love. Yet they're, I think, maybe the same thing. So a lot of us that can't believe in God, see if we can believe in love. Let's see if we can believe in a loving process in this. And for me, it's all about just knocking down as soon as I see that judgmental, unimpeccable, negative-ass shit towards other people and myself, coming from me. That stuff just blocks me from the gifts of recovery. People accepted me here. When I got here, I was 6'3", 128 pounds. Soaking wet, man. Looked like Christian Bale, the machinist. I rolled up socks in my back pockets to keep my pants up, man. Walked in, thought I was looking good. At the meeting, man, people were like, whoa. I thought, well, fear is better than respect, but they weren't really, they were just freaked out by me, man. Later on, the guy said, dude, you look like Charles Manson, man. People are afraid of you. I go, well, good. And they accepted me and hugged me. Were glad to see me all the time. I didn't believe them in the beginning. People would see me coming every day, and they'd say, it's great to see you. You're coming all the time, man. It's great to see you. Keep coming back. I think, yeah, they just want my dollar in the basket. They don't care about me. I'm still not that good at taking compliments. Although I know you like my shirt. I just got it today. But I'm telling you, this thing has saved me from just when I was lucky enough to roll up in here. And this thing continues to save me. I've gotten an opportunity through complacency to get a first-hand experience working with the disease distilled there after the drugs are gone. It's 24 years of ongoing abstinence from drug use. But man, that ain't what I call active addiction. That's active chemical addiction. Active addiction, our book tells us what addiction is. We know well the two things that make up true addiction. And then the third thing that I'll talk about, the obsession and compulsion, and the third thing, the toxic self-obsession. I don't know about you, but that stuff didn't just disappear when I put the drugs down. That shit mutates and comes on me in trickier ways, man. And it takes over the way I perceive things. It takes it over, man. It sucks the joy. It has me to suck the joy out of my life. My disease is an entity like Satan. Those of you older people that remember Flip Wilson, character Geraldine, the devil made me do it. That was a cop-out. In a way, I didn't want to get with the religious stuff, but it was this, I was a victim of this, or I had to react to that. This disease don't want to kill me. This disease don't have an intention. It's a disease. It's something that's, distorted. It's a disorder that I have. But it's me telling me that dumb shit to do, man. There's a part of my brain that's like half slick. They used to call me half slick for a while. But it's half slick like a can of oil. Sliding under the door, can't get back out. Come up with some schemes and some ideas. And then the part that listens to it and makes the final decisions is like profoundly retarded. And it goes, okay. And it's not tough to out-slick me, man. Especially when I'm thinking for myself with my wise ass. Knowledge and wisdom, and so I got to be plugged in, man. I got to stay plugged in. And I got to stay in these steps if I want freedom, if I want peace and joy, And this whole thing is, our message is hope and the promise of freedom. The promise of freedom from active addiction. That's not just, it says in our book also, addiction's much more. It's about much more than just the use of drugs. So our recovery must be much more than just simple abstinence. Yo, look at that shit. Look at it again. It's the same thing. It seems to mean different things to me if I go back and look at it, if I talk to people about it and hear their experience on it. So it's a gift that keeps on giving. All I have to do is get in the way of it. I have to be in the way. I'm in the way of this. I'm in these steps. I'm listening to other people taking these steps. That's the new way of life. The steps are the new way of life. The traditions help us do it together. It can help us in our relationships and our group relationships and everything else. But the 12 steps are our solution. They're our survival kit. They're our defense against addiction, a deadly disease. And that's underrated, understated. And I've learned that without thinking about using, I've been just as miserable as I was the day I got here, and the days before that. So, active addiction is obsession, compulsion, toxic self-centeredness, man. That happened to me last week, at least once. And I get there, I'm sensible, I'm getting pussified now. My pain tolerance is down. It happens, I'm like really cranky. And I'm torturing myself because I've learned not to act out on that stuff. I don't need to go to jail anymore. I don't need to be fired anymore. I just go, man, and then I'll go, shit, I'll call somebody, and they'll go, oh yeah, I felt that way last week, man. This dude I know has got 35 years, I call him, he goes, I was thinking about cutting this lady's throat at my job last week, it'll pass. I go, thanks, bro. So I seem all right, man, and they know what to say to make me seem all right. They hold me up like, like the retarded kid that I act like at times. And, sometimes that's the answer for me, retarding and slowing down. I need to slow down. I just not think for myself. I still have to think, of course. I have to make my own decisions, but I got to be all-inclusive. I got to include listening to other people. And that's why I'm glad you guys are here. We got a few minutes. Can you come up here and share on a new way of life? Thanks for letting me share.